The Principles and Art of Cure by Homeopathy by Dr. H.A. Roberts. Chapter 5, Vital Energy in its Universal Application. The vital energy is that force which animates each individual, while the vital energy is in the individual. That individual is said to have life, to be, to exist. Even as if individual is derived from becomes, from the mating of the two individuals, from the cell mating of which this vital force may be handed on with physical characteristics of the parents, so is the vital force itself derived from an infinite source, a storehouse of dynamic power, capable of developing and reproducing to an infinite degree in its manifestations, yet each individual partaking in greater or less degree of general vital characteristics common to all. The vital force in the individual becomes therefore the ego, that most intimate spark of the individual, which is in itself the essence of the individual and which divide his individuality from other individuals, yet is his closest relationship to the universe. This closely relates him to all living creatures, yet he is identical with none. It is at once his tie to all energy, all vitality, all life, and at the same time his insulation against the massed power of the whole. Probably religion was the first expression of thought to formulate this vital concept of life. Many religions, through many ages, have expressed the thought we find in the Bible, and the Lord God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Before Abraham was, I am, religion accepts the concepts of infinite life on the spiritual plane, but has not attempted to apply it to all planes of existence. Science accepts it in part. One is tempted to say in fragments, but science has never correlated the whole, even on the material or intellectual planes. Astronomy is the part of science. Mathematics is an essential component of astronomy. Astronomy and mathematics, viewed in the light of the whole vision of vital energy, are essential and are essentially a partial proof of the omnipresence of vital energy as being the moving energy, the activating power of the universe. As logic deals with the principles governing the comparative and constructive faculties in the pursuit and use of truth. Let us apply this science to our theorem and reason this through to its natural conclusions. Without this vital force, there can be no life, no development. Science, there is no static condition in nature. Without a healthy, normal development of vital force, we find a state of decay and death. As homeopathic philosophers, we do not concern ourselves at this time with the aspects of this problem, although interferences from the foregoing statements may be seem obvious. It is our duty to consider these primarily as they relate to the physical, mental, and spiritual well being of our patients. We have observed in the study of human race that life is perpetuated under certain favorable conditions of mating. It is true that physical characteristics are handed on from parents to offspring, but that the parents actually give life to the child we may reasonably doubt. We may say with all assurance that under favorable circumstances life is handed on from parents to the child in more or less perfect vigor. Whence life comes, we cannot say, but that it gives vigor in greater or less degree to the individual according to the heredity and environment, we cannot doubt. That life is continuous, we know to be true. There has been no age when all life has ceased. And we find this vital force, this energy, this dynamism passed on in all forms and degrees of living creatures. History shows us that life has thus been manifest for so many centuries that we come by deductive reasoning to comprehend that life is infinite. It is eternally going on and on. Where there is vital force, there is action, motion. Action is one interpretation, one manifestation of vital force. We speak of the inanimate as dead. Yet, with death, there is always decay. We think of the Earth and other planets as dead, yet they are in continual motion according to their regular and defined direction through the universe, which has been observed and recorded by man. We may reason, therefore, that since these great bodies have regular motion and direction, they are impelled by some force, some energy, which, although it may not be what we have come to call vital energy, is in degree closely related to it. If therefore this force, this energy actuates or permeates all forms and degrees of life from the most humble and inconspicuous to the very planets, we may reasonably assume that vital force is the most fundamental of all conditions of the universe, and that the laws governing the vital force in the individual are correlated with the laws which govern all vital force, all forms of energy, wherever and however expressed. If we have no motion, no action, no direction without vital energy, it must be this energy which is responsible for all growth and all development in all spheres of existence. Like all laws, the laws governing vital force may be infringed to some degree. The privilege granted to human life is the right of choice, and this right of choice implies degrees of choice. The planets, being set in their courses, have no right of choice and move always according to law. Human beings, we know, to exercise the right of choice, and herein is our province as physicians. For in making a choice, which is often a choice against natural laws, we find the vigor of the vital force abated and a retrograde action of the body, mind, or spirit sets in. As we have pointed out before, vital force in its perfection means growth and development. Since there is no condition of standing still in nature, an infringement of natural laws means decay and death. The degree of the infringement, either in an individual or his predecessors, determines the degree of decay and its speed. Since human beings, as individuals, have the right of choice, even in the face of the operation of the natural laws governing the vital energy, they have also been given those circumstances and conditions surrounding them which tend towards, first, a correct choice direction, and second, aids to correct the mistakes already made and to regain the normal balance. Both these conditions are found in three spheres: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. On the spiritual plane, we find those aids which tend towards correct choice and aids to regain a lost balance in the form of religious convictions and beliefs. All those aids which foster the growth and development of the spiritual life of man. On the mental plane, we find instruction of various kinds, which tends to development of the mental faculties and all those things which go toward an honest comprehension of the individual toward himself and his relationship to others and toward all life. In other words, those things which foster sanity. On the physical plane, we find those things which tend to keep us healthy in body, such as suitable foods, and those things which we can adapt for better housing, cleanliness, sanitation, and many other things. We find on this plane too many substances closely allied to foods which have within them a vital energy capable of being raised by potentization from the purely physical plane to that of the mental or even spiritual. This is most decidedly the study of the homeopathic physician, for in these substances we find the most similar remedies for the conditions of the ills of man. These substances themselves are derived from those kingdoms mineral, vegetable, and animal. We cannot definitely say that the mineral substances in themselves possesses vital energy, but they are fragments of that which composes the planet Earth, and that planet either possesses some form of vital energy in itself or is susceptible to being activated by vital energy to such an extent that it performs its appointed movements according to the law. And we we can use these minerals by proper preparation in the form of vital energy, not to perpetuate life, but to influence it on all three planes of body, mind, and spirit, that the vital energy of the individual may be thereby guarded against decay and death. We recognize the presence of vital energy in vegetable growth, for it is evidenced in growth and movement in the plant. According to the natural law of development, from within outward, the plant develops from the seed according to the physical characteristics of the parents, and again, under favorable circumstances, passes on this spark of vital energy in its own fertility. Not only do we know that vegetable growth has this manifestation of vital energy, but it has been observed that the mysterious vital force beyond our comprehension, which controls by law the planets in their courses and influences the winds and tides, influences the manner and period of growth of the individual plant. Thus, again, time, what we know to be a manifestation of life, to the universal energy. The vegetable kingdom has probably served man in disease conditions longer than either the animal or mineral kingdom. In the homeopathic method of preparing drugs for medication, by releasing the energy therein through potentization, we have found that from this source again, which we regard as material, we can influence disorder on the three planes of body, mind, and spirit. We comprehend most easily the animation, the presence of vital energy in the animal kingdom, and medicine has long sought cure through the medium of substances derived from this source. That these substances have a tremendous power we know to be true. Homeopathy, however, in distinction from ordinary medicine, believes that there too the release of power from the minimum of substance through the potentization is that which will most quickly and accurately influence the disordered vital force of man on all three planes. We believe that vital energy, as we comprehend it is not a mass power, but an infinite number of egocentric sparks. Medication would completely overwhelm the individual vital force to complete annihilation or would subvert it to eventual decay and death. We believe that the mathematical law of quantity extends through all nature and applies to all vital energy in whatever form, and that if this is so, it is peculiarly applicable when we all we are dealing with that infinitely delicate balance of vital force in the individual. Let us look at this law of mathematics with that thought in mind. The quantity of action necessary to effect any change in nature is the least possible, and as Finke added, the decisive amount is always a minimum and infinitesimal. If vital energy is the fundamental power, the motivating factor of the universe balance must be one expression of the law. If the very planets are kept in their place through the influence of vital energy, this must be an infinitely delicate balance. We see the effects of balance all through nature and natural expressions, and therefore we realize that balance, power, in one manifestation of the law. Since the earth upon which we live is so delicately poised that it holds its regular position and movements without deviation, according to law, anything upon the earth which lives or is subject to the influence of vital energy must therefore in some degree be susceptible to balance. We recognize more susceptibility to the manifestations and interplay of vital energy and balance in the individuals of the human race than in any other form of existence, since we so often see the effects of the imbalance of the individual. This is doubtless due to influence of his power of choice, which often influences his own dynamics and the dynamics of those with whom he comes in contact. In other words, his very existence is an expression of vital energy, but he is also exposed to the influence of vital energy of others and the interplay of vital energy and balance from any sources may imperil his own balance. The resultant lack of balance in his own vital energy is disorder that manifests itself in a train of symptoms of disease. Mathematics is the science of the which treats of the measuring of quantities and the ascertainment of their properties and relations. This is an exact science. It is a part of the study of astronomy among other natural studies, and it must be applicable in all spheres where any concept of measurement or relationship exists. Balance is the state of perfect relationship, the result of perfect computation, and the desired goal of all mathematics. We might say that mathematics in its highest form is the perception of balance in its highest degree. Thus, we realize that the laws that apply to mathematics must be equally applicable to every condition where balance is a factor. Lack of balance in the individual may be engendered by the interplay of forces resulting from his privilege of choice, from the interplay of forces engendered by others and over which he has little or no control, or by the released power of all of an infinitesimal amount of almost any substance, animal, vegetable, or mineral, which has in itself the susceptibility of permeation or activation of vital energy. Here we see the applicability of the mathematical law, the quantity of action, the actual quantity of substance susceptible to action, necessary to effect any change in nature, necessary to effect the balance of any living thing, or the relationship between any living thing and circumstances is the least possible. The decisive amount is always a minimum and infinitesimal. All the elements and all forms of matter are capable of being moved, activated by an vital energy, although they may not themselves possess this energy within themselves. All the elements and all forms of matter possesses the possibility of divisibility to an almost infinite degree. The greater the mass quantity of elements or matter, the more inert they become. Thus, massed iron becomes useful to man as iron or steel rails, bridges, utensils, and or other material substances. Iron in a divided state enters into the human physical body as a component part of that which is activated by vital energy, and as a part of the physical body, the vital energy plays through it. Iron, even when massed and inert, has the power of attracting vital energy in the form of electricity, but iron in mass formation is not capable of balance and direction within itself to the degree that is possible when its divisibility is greater. It is a question whether matter itself, which we call at times inert, does not manifest active properties. In other words, it's possessed by activity and motion. This has been demonstrated in Madame Curie's investigation of radioactive substances and again in the far reaching discoveries of Langevin in his demonstration of the activity within the atom of the physical cells. The greater the divisibility of elements or matter, the more they exhibit the possibility of permeability by the vital energy. the energy being not dependent upon the mass but on the play or balance between the positive and negative poles of the atom. Vital force is capable of three forms of action: motion, direction, and balance. These manifestations of energy are an integral part of any exhibition of vital energy. Growth and development are directed motion, and in the degree of their perfection, we do find the manifestation of balance. What do we mean by vital energy? What is the influence of energy on growth and development? What is the effect of potentization on material substances? How is the energy inherent in plants released for their use in remedies? State the mathematical law of least action. How does the law of least action apply to the administration of homeopathic potentized remedies? What influence has divisibility upon matter? What three forms of action has vital force? Here we come to the end of this chapter: vital energy in its universal application. Thank you.